Hey, once again, everyone, it is the Valley's most in-depth, detailed, geeky weather forecast video, the edition of Weather for Weather Geeks for the 10th day of January here in the dead of winter, and we've had one wintry day so far in 2020, and that's about it, and today was not wintry at all. We'd be shoveling a few inches of snow if it were kind of typical January weather, but instead it was rain, and we've picked up between 1/3 of an inch and 1/2 an inch in most places so far. We're going to add some to these totals tomorrow, especially late tomorrow and into tomorrow night, but I don't think we're looking at a whole lot of additional rain for the overnight hours tonight, and I'm going to show you the modeling in just a second. Here's a look at the radar as of 7:06 this evening, showing, we're getting some breaks in the rain, not much more than mist and drizzle in some spots. As we zoom out and take a look at the region as a whole, this steadier rain back towards I-71 is more aimed like this, I think, for the evening, and this trend we'll continue into the day tomorrow with a lot of the moisture missing us to the west for a lot of our Saturday. And the big story will be the wind and the warmth. In the meantime, it is warming up off to our south. We're at 50 here locally in the 7 o'clock hour, but double nickel in Columbus, closer to 60 Cincinnati to Louisville. And complete with the theme here that it's more like April rather than January, we have a severe weather outbreak across parts of the southern plains into the Mississippi Valley. Tornado watches and severe thunderstorm watches extend from San Antonio through Dallas, up into the Tulsa area, Little Rock, and into southern parts of Missouri, and there's been several tornado warnings going over the last handful of hours. The severe weather risk tomorrow will shift off to the east, so there's actually an enhanced risk out from New Orleans to Jackson, Mississippi, to Birmingham, Alabama, and down into the panhandle of Florida. And actually, the low-end risk of severe weather does sneak up into Ohio tomorrow. SPC has this area highlighted for a lower end risk of some damaging wind gusts. Now, it's going to be windy in general tomorrow, but if we get some convective bursts within this line of showers that's expected to move across the state during the second half of the day tomorrow, there could be some locally damaging winds. Highest risk of that will be off to our west. All right, modeling for tonight. Showers here and there, but I don't think we're looking at a lot of rain, not as consistent in terms of the rain that we had earlier on today, so it'll be more scattered in nature. All right, how rare is the kind of day we're going to have tomorrow where the high temperature should be above 65? In fact, it's pretty much a mortal lock. It'll be above 65. We might even be closer to 70 than 65. Well, a high greater than 65 has occurred 12 times in recorded history at the airport, most recently on January 13th, 2013, when it was 67. Our all-time record in January was set on the 25th day of the month in 1950. 71 degrees. Kind of interesting how the 13th, three times on this list, and then the 14th appears a couple of times, and the 15th. So half the list is basically either the 13th, 14th, or 15th day of January. It's, if we're going to get warm in January, it seems to be right in the middle of the month that it wants to happen with the most frequency. Got a few comments, of course, on social media. Whenever I post a graphic like this and it has old dates on it like the 30s. Oh, how about that? I didn't know there was global warming back in the 30s. Well, if you're watching this video, chances are you're savvy enough to know that while parts of North America were very warm in the 30s, the globe was not. And it's a much different story now that now the entire globe is very, very warm. All right, back here at home on Saturday. I think most of the daylight hours will be dry. I think our in-house model is actually a little bit too speedy with the eastward progress of this line. Putting it into I-71 by mid-afternoon, I think it's more than likely back closer to this area, west of I-71, by mid-afternoon. So I think we're dry for the most part during the daylight hours. Now, could there be a renegade shower? Yes, but I think we're largely dry. No matter if it's late in the afternoon or more likely in the evening, there's going to be a band of rain that comes through that's probably going to have some strong winds with it. I can't even rule out some lightning and thunder with it. And I think the highest odds of this will be after sunset tomorrow evening. Now, there is a wind advisory out for parts of our region, including all of northeast Ohio, northwest PA, and back towards central and north central Ohio as well. It's going to be windy in general tomorrow. Occasionally, there'll be some gusts over 30. Highest risk of a damaging wind gust, the kind of gust that may cause some power outage problems and some issues, more than likely very late in the day, probably later than our model here shows. I think it's more likely as we get into the post-sunset period Saturday evening. Actually, it's going to stay pretty windy into Sunday morning. I think as the pressure gradient kind of relaxes on Sunday, we're going to see those winds backing off as we get into the afternoon on Sunday. Actually, a pretty nice afternoon on Sunday. Now, it's not going to turn bright and sunny, but I do think the sky is going to try to brighten Sunday afternoon. Now, it's going to be colder after reaching the upper 60s on Saturday. A little bit of a reality check on Sunday as afternoon temperatures will be in the 30s. Daybreak temperatures mid-40s, but we'll probably spend the afternoon in the middle and upper 30s on Sunday. And actually a real nice day coming up on Monday. I think this is generally a mostly sunny day, and temperatures making their way pretty close to 50 once again. I showed you this last night in case you missed it. The dam is going to break. The Arctic air that's been just bottled up across western and northern Canada is going to start to come east. Let me roll this animation back. The Pacific Northwest, the Northern Rockies really are in the deep freeze over the next handful of days. We'll get quite a bit of snow up there as well. Our turn comes late in the week and into next weekend. Now, you know, your eye is naturally drawn to these whites and greens where the coldest the coldest temperatures will be. But our actual cold front by the middle of next week is actually out here. This is the leading edge of that cold air mass. It's obviously not going to be as cold around here as it will be off to our north and west. But a legit cold air mass coming now, severe cold, the kind of cold that's memorable, that's going to be flirting with records, no way. But I do think that winter is going to kind of reboot, if you will. We had some winter in November. Any winter since we turned the calendar to December has been kind of a fleeting thing, a day or two here and there. We're going to kind of reboot winter, and, you know, for all intents and purposes, winter is really just beginning with this pattern change at the end of next week into next weekend and beyond. This is not just a 1 or 2 day deal. This looks like it has some staying power. Does it last all the way through February? Not sure about that yet, but it's going to last a little while anyway as we wrap up the month of January. Thanks for watching some long editions of Weather for Weather Geeks this week. We've had some long videos because there's been plenty to talk about. Hope you have a great weekend. I'll be checking in occasionally on social media during an active, warm, and windy Saturday. Make sure you're following the rest of our team, including the Storm Tracker 21 accounts on Twitter and Facebook. And, of course, make sure you have the Storm Tracker 21 app, delivering those push alerts to you if any watches or warnings are issued.